Hello everyone, today I'm back to continue sharing with you the story of the single mother, Diệu Hân. I hope you enjoy the video. After several days wandering around searching for any trace of Hân, Ton felt like a soulless man. Every morning the moment he opened his eyes, the first image that appeared in his mind was her small figure carrying little Tom and quietly walking out of the hospital. He drove through every street, asked around at every rental area, every small market, even walked into dark, damp alleys hoping to gather the slightest clue. But everything came up empty. Each time he returned to his empty apartment, the loneliness inside him spread like a shadow slowly swallowing his heart. He would sit silently for hours, staring at the chair where Hân used to sit while folding tiny clothes for Tom. Back then he didn't know how to cherish her. He even let people's gossip and his friends' provocation cloud his vision, leading him to turn his back on the one woman who was truly sincere toward him. Looking back now, every memory felt like a cold blade cutting into his chest. If only he hadn't listened to others back then. If only he had trusted the kindness Hân always showed him. If only he hadn't let go so easily. Maybe the three of them could be sitting together right now, sharing a simple meal, listening to little Tom's cheerful laughter. Maybe Hân wouldn't have had to shoulder the whole world alone in a strange place. And maybe he wouldn't be carrying this crushing regret that kept him awake every night. In that moment, Ton realized what hurt him the most wasn't that Hân left, but that she left without a single piece of trust in him. He asked himself, voice trembling every time the thought crossed his mind, if we meet again, will she even look at me one more time? But no matter how afraid or hurt he was, Ton kept searching. He couldn't let Hân and Tom disappear from his life again. Not this time. Not ever. Meanwhile, in a small town nearly 100 kilometers from the city, Diệu Hân and little Tom were beginning a new life. A life where every step was painted with hardship. Their rented room was barely half the size of the kitchen in Tana's apartment. Stained walls, a thin metal roof that clattered loudly whenever the wind blew. It was scorching hot during the day and freezing at night. But it was all Hân could afford with what she earned from collecting bottles and cans around the town. Every morning she woke up early. She gently pulled the thin blanket over Tom, kissed his messy hair, then quietly put on her old jacket and carried her bag to wander through alleys collecting plastic bottles and empty cans. By the time she dragged the full sack home, her hands were red and her fingers stung from the cold. But she always smiled when Tom ran out to greet her. "Mom, you're back. Were you tired today?" Just that little question was enough to warm her heart in the middle of her exhausting life. In the afternoon, she worked part-time at a small rice stall near the market, washing dishes, wiping tables, sometimes serving when it wasn't too crowded. The owner took pity on her and allowed flexible hours so she could take care of Tom, but the wages were barely anything. At night, the two shared a single bowl of instant noodles. Hân always gave the piece of meat to Tom and only drank the diluted broth herself. Watching her son eat happily always brought tears to her eyes. A mix of love and guilt. Some nights, after Tom had fallen asleep, Hân sat hugging her knees by the tiny window, looking out at the empty street. The wind pushed the thin curtain, bringing in a cold draft that made her shiver. In those quiet moments, old wounds returned like waves crashing into her chest. If only she hadn't rushed to leave. If only she'd been brave enough to face Ton one more time. If only she hadn't been afraid that her presence would make his life more complicated. Maybe they wouldn't be so far apart now. But every time she remembered the disappointed look in his eyes, the moment he chose to believe others instead of her heart clenched. She was afraid. Afraid that if they met again, everything would hurt even more. Afraid he would still keep the same cold distance. As long as Tom is safe, that's enough, she told herself, tightening her cold fingers. She didn't know that at that very moment, far away, Ton was still driving through fog-covered streets, desperately chasing every faint clue, so much that his eyes were red from lack of sleep, and his knuckles had turned white from gripping the steering wheel too hard. They both missed each other. They were both hurting. But fate was letting their paths drift apart at a distance far too wide. That afternoon, after nearly a week of relentless searching, Ton stopped his car at a small roadside drink stall in the quiet town. The sky was turning to dusk, and the last rays of sunlight stretched across the road, casting a thin golden layer over everything like a soft, dusty veil. He rubbed his forehead, exhausted to the point where his eyelids felt unbearably heavy. He didn't know how many more places he had to go, or whether he was even heading in the right direction, or just desperately clinging to a fragile hope. He took a sip of lukewarm water and stood up to return to his car. And at that exact moment, from across the street, a silhouette appeared. A silhouette so familiar it felt like a blade to the heart. A woman thinner than before, wearing a faded shirt, carrying a small basket of cheap vegetables, her face hollow but her eyes still gentle, painfully gentle. Diệu Hân. Ton froze. The air was ripped straight out of his lungs. He feared he was mistaken. But when the golden light of dusk fell across her face, he knew he couldn't be wrong. Hun? His voice escaped, trembling uncontrollably. Han looked up. Her eyes brushed across him for one single second. Just 1 second. But it was enough to shake her entire world. She stopped dead. Her whole body turned cold. And in that moment her only instinct was to run. She turned away, clutching the basket tightly to her chest, walking quickly in the opposite direction. Her footsteps were steady at first, but soon they became rushed, frantic, as if slowing down even for a heartbeat would let the old pain catch up and tear her apart again. Wait! Hun! Hun! Ton shouted, his voice strangled with desperation. He rushed after her, but Han avoided him. She slipped into a narrow alley, her shoulders shaking. Tears spilled before she could even hold them back, falling onto her hurried footsteps. Her heart was in chaos. She feared his eyes, feared hearing blame, feared having to face a past that had hurt her enough to make her flee into the night, carrying her child. And most of all, she feared that she still loved him so much that just seeing him would make her fall apart. When Ton reached the alley, only emptiness greeted him. Han had vanished like a gust of wind. He leaned forward, hands on his knees, breathing heavily, his heart pounding to the point of dizziness. His whole body trembled, not from exhaustion but from pain, from the crushing fear that she would slip away from his life yet again. "Don't run. Please don't run anymore," he whispered, his voice breaking. For the first time in years, he felt the terrifying possibility that he might lose her, forever. But he didn't know that just a few rental blocks away, Han was standing with her back pressed against a cold wall, shoulders trembling as if they were about to collapse. She covered her mouth to muffle her sobs, her fingers turning white from gripping them too tightly. She didn't hate Ton. She was simply wounded to the point she no longer had the courage to look back. After chasing until he was out of breath but still unable to find her, Ton stood in the narrow alley, his heart tangled like a knotted rope. He knew it was her. It couldn't be anyone else. Her gait, her eyes, the way she held that basket as if it carried all her loneliness. Everything was the dieu Han he loved and had lost. He refused to give up. He circled around the alley, asking every shopkeeper, every local sitting outside, "Who are you looking for, son?" An elderly woman sorting vegetables asked. Ton inhaled deeply, trying to steady himself. A young woman around 30, very thin. She ran in here earlier, carrying a basket of vegetables. The old woman nodded slowly. "Oh, that young mother? She lives in room number 7 at the end of the row. Poor thing. She and her child have been struggling for months." The words "her child" squeezed Tana's heart painfully. Tom. Even his little boy was living in such conditions. He bowed and thanked her repeatedly before nearly running toward the end of the rental row. The corridor was narrow, damp, its tiles cracked and peeling. Old wooden doors creaked in the wind like tired sighs. Then he saw it, room 7. Silent inside. No light. No sound. Ton raised his hand and knocked softly. "Knock." "Han, it's me." His voice shook as if carried by a fragile breeze. Still silence. He pressed his forehead gently against the door, eyes closed. "Hun, I just want to talk. I'm not here to blame you. I just want to know if you and our child are all right." A faint sound came from inside. A small shift. A breath. A startled heartbeat. He knew she was there, hiding in the corner, trembling. "Han, don't be afraid of me." His voice cracked, thin as a plea. "This time, I'm not the one running. Please don't push me away." Inside, Han stood against the wall, hand over her mouth, tears streaming. Every word he uttered scraped across wounds that had never healed, making her whole body tremble. She wanted to open the door, She wanted to tell him she didn't hate him. She wanted to ask if he was truly searching for them all this time. But the fear was too heavy. The memory of being abandoned still burned like an unhealed cut. She shook her head gently in the darkness, whispering to herself, "I can't be weak. I can't let everything happen again." Ton knocked again, softer, sadder. "Hun, if you don't want to see me today, I'll leave. But please, please give me a chance to make things right. To show you I'm not the man I used to be." A cold breeze swept through the hallway, carrying his quiet, broken sigh. He stayed there for a long time. And finally, he placed a small bag at the door. Inside were some food for Tom, vitamins for Han, and a folded note. "I'll come back tomorrow or the next day or however long it takes. Until you open the door." Then he turned away, walking down the dim hallway. His shadow stretched across the cold cement floor. Long, lonely, heartbreakingly quiet. Only when his footsteps faded did Han move. Trembling, she reached for the bag. Her fingers brushed against the folded note. She opened it. Inside was a single messy line. A line her heart had secretly longed for all these years. "I miss you. I miss Tom. And I want to bring both of you home." Han fell to her knees right there at the door, her tears breaking free. For the first time in months, she let herself cry without holding back. That night, after Ton left, Dieu sat by the door for a very long time. The note he had left in her hand was smudged in one corner from her tears. She read that short sentence over and over again, and each time her heart felt as if it tightened a little more. She didn't understand why she was trembling so much. She had run, she had kept her distance, she had told herself she had to be strong for Tom. But just those 3 words, "I miss you," shattered every wall she had spent months building. Han held her chest, her breathing uneven. Why did you go this far to find me?" In the darkness, only the ticking of the clock and the steady breaths of little Tom on the small bed could be heard. Han looked at her son, and her heart twisted painfully. If she opened the door, if she let Tom come in, what would happen? Would she weaken again and let the past hurt her once more? That entire night she did not sleep. The next morning, just as the sun began to rise, a soft knock sounded at the door. Not loud, not urgent, gentle, as if afraid of startling her. "Han, it's me." Tana's voice was low, rough, like someone who hadn't slept at all. Han stood right behind the door. Her hands were on the doorknob, trembling so hard she could barely keep them still. "I know you're still angry. I know my mistakes are so big that maybe I can't make up for them even in a lifetime." Tana's voice was slow, his words breaking. "But I beg you for just one thing. Please don't disappear from my life again." Inside, Han closed her eyes, tears slipping down silently. Tan continued, voice softer. "If you want me to leave, I will leave. But please let me see you once. Just once, so I know you're truly okay." In that moment, all the fear, exhaustion, and buried hurt inside her broke apart. She no longer had the strength to resist. Her hand shook as she turned the lock. Click. The door opened just a small crack. Tan froze completely. The dim morning light fell on her face. Thin, pale eyes swollen from crying, but still heartbreakingly beautiful. She stood there, unable to look him in the eye, fingers gripping the edge of the door to steady herself. For a few seconds they simply stared, or rather, Tan stared at her with 1,000 regrets in his eyes, while Han tried not to fall apart. "Han!" He called her name softly, as though a louder sound might make her shut the door again. She lowered her head, biting her lip to hold back a sob. Don't come too close." Her voice was barely a whisper. He stopped immediately, but his gaze was so gentle it made her afraid to look up, afraid she wouldn't be able to control herself. "Hun, I'm sorry." 3 simple words, but he said them with every shattered piece of his heart. She trembled. Tears fell on the back of the hand holding the door. Why did you come here?" She tried to sound calm but failed. "I ran because I'm scared. Scared everything will be the same. I can't bear it again." Tan clenched his fist, trying to contain the ache in his chest. "I didn't come to hurt you again." His eyes were red but steady. "I came to ask for another chance. Even if you push me away 100 times, I'll still look for you. I won't abandon you ever again." For the first time in months, Han slowly raised her eyes to meet his. And in that single moment, Tan understood that no matter how scared or hurt she was, her heart had never stopped loving him. Han whispered, "I'm so tired, Tan." He stepped forward half a step, nothing more, but his voice wrapped her like a blanket. "I know. That's why I'm here to protect you. And Tom." At the mention of her son, her shoulders shook violently. She didn't close the door. She didn't step back. She just stood there and cried. Tan lifted his hand, stopping midair, waiting for her permission. She looked at that hand, then slowly, hesitantly nodded. He touched her cheek, a touch so gentle it felt like he was afraid she would break. "Han, let me bring you and our son home." Her fingers clutched his shirt, and she sobbed like a child. "I'm scared, but I miss you." In that moment, two wounded hearts finally came back to each other, quietly, without drama, with just a half-open door and a trembling nod. As Han leaned against Tan for the first time after so many months of surviving alone, she felt like she could finally breathe. He held her gently, and the warmth of his hands soothed the trembling in her chest. "It's all right. I'm here now," he whispered. She hadn't even answered when footsteps echoed at the end of the hallway. Not loud, not unsteady, slow, deliberate, as if the person had spent a long time gathering courage before coming. Both Han and Tan turned. A man stood there, thinner than before, hair neatly cut, clothes clean. No smell of alcohol, no violent glare like the past. Just a tired, remorseful, hesitant expression. Han's ex-husband. She froze. Her hand slipped off Tana's shirt, then gripped it again unconsciously out of fear. The man took a few steps forward, his voice low, hoarse but controlled. "Han, I want to talk to you." No shouting, no bitterness, no drunken slur, only genuine regret in every word. Tan moved slightly in front of her, protective but not hostile. He sensed the man had changed, at least in demeanor. Han forced herself to stay calm. Why are you here?" The man looked down, fingers twisting together like someone who had done too much wrong and didn't know where to begin. "I'm sorry for everything. Went to rehab. I saw a therapist. I changed." Han stiffened. Memories of fear, of nights she ran while holding Tom, rushed back like shadows. The man lifted his gaze, sincerity flickering in his eyes. "I know. I hurt you. Deeply. I'm not asking to be forgiven right away. But I want to see Tom. To know he's okay. And if possible, to finally say the things I never had the courage to say." Tan narrowed his eyes. He didn't interfere but remained cautious. The ex-husband glanced at Tan, then bowed his head slightly. "I know. I have no right to be jealous, no right to demand anything. But please let me talk to her. I just want to fix what I broke." Tan stood firm, voice steady. "Han doesn't owe you anything. If she doesn't want to meet, I won't let anyone force her." The man looked directly at Han, his eyes pleading. "Han, I lost you once. I don't want to go on living without telling you that. I truly regret everything. Deeply." Han hesitated. Her heart was being pulled in two directions. On one side was Tan, the man who made her feel safe, loved, and chosen. On the other was her past, the man who once hurt her terribly, now standing before her as a completely different person. She whispered under her breath, as if speaking to herself, "Why does it have to be now?" He heard it. His eyes turned red. "Because I came late. But I don't want to be so late that I lose the chance to say I'm sorry." Han lowered her head. Her chest tightened painfully. Tan gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Do you want to talk to him? I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." She looked up at Tan. His eyes held no pressure, no possessiveness, no jealousy. Only respect. Only understanding. Then she looked at her ex-husband, the man who once destroyed her, now standing with nothing but remorse. In that moment, all she could say was, I don't know what to do." And the narrow hallway suddenly felt so heavy that even their breaths trembled. The narrow hallway of the rental row was so silent that the only sound was the low hum of a fan from the room next door. Han stood between two men. One was her painful past, and the other was the fragile piece she had just begun to touch. Her chest tightened, her breath short and trembling. After a long pause, she finally spoke, her voice so soft it was as if she didn't want even herself to hear it. "Okay, I'll talk. but only for a few minutes. Her ex-husband stiffened, his eyes widening in disbelief. He nodded quickly, almost desperately. "Thank you, that's all I need." Ton glanced at Han, worry flickering in his eyes though he kept his composure. He leaned down and whispered near her ear, "If anything feels wrong, just call me." Han nodded gently. Tana's eyes then met her ex-husband's, not confrontational but a silent warning. "Don't hurt her again." The two men stood beside her in the dim corridor, a soft breeze rattling the thin metal roof above them. Her ex-husband clasped his hands tightly, trying to keep himself steady. I don't know where to start." Han wrapped her arms around herself, as if shielding her heart. "If you're here to blame me, or to drag me back, then I'll leave right now. I won't say another word." He shook his head frantically. "No, I'm not here to make you come back. I'm here to take responsibility for what I did." Han froze for a moment. The man looked down at the cracked ground. "After you left, I felt like a hollow shell. At first I was angry, I thought you betrayed me. But then when I finally sobered up, I realized the person who betrayed you was me." Han swallowed hard, her eyes reddening though she fought to stay composed. "You hit me, threatened me, made my life unbearable. Why now? Why appear and say you want to change?" Her voice trembled. Not with fear anymore, but with hurt. He let out a long, heavy breath. "I went to rehab. I met with a therapist for 3 months. I learned to control my anger. Learned to face what I did." He lifted his gaze, sincerity so raw it made Han falter. "I'm not here to win you back. I just want to say that, if one day you need me to sign the divorce papers, I'll sign them immediately." Han looked up, startled. He gave a small, sad smile. "I only want to see Tom. Not to take him. Just to know he's okay." At that, Han's eyes welled with tears. Not because she still loved him. Not because she wanted to return. But because for the first time, the man who once hurt her stood before her with genuine remorse. She inhaled slowly, her voice soft but firm. "You can see Tom. But as for getting back together..." He shook his head quickly. "No. I know that's impossible. Don't worry." Han paused, and strangely, something inside her loosened. Just then, Ton approached from a distance. He didn't interrupt or hurry over. He simply stood beside Han, steady and protective. "Are you okay?" Han nodded lightly. Her ex-husband exhaled shakily, then bowed his head to Ton. "Thank you for taking care of her. I have no right to say anything anymore, but I'm truly grateful." Ton replied calmly. What matters is that Han and Tom are safe. For a moment, the three of them stood in a strange silence. Not tense, not hostile, but as if all three silently acknowledged how much pain each had survived. Han looked at the two men, two completely different chapters of her life, and she realized the past had returned, but it no longer had the power to bind her, and the present was standing right beside her, steady, warm, and unwavering.
Hello mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video hôm nay của mình. Câu chuyện hôm nay mình chia sẻ về Diệu Hân. Sau khi rời bỏ Thành thì Thành liên tục hối hận và quyết định đi tìm Hân. Nhưng cuộc gặp gỡ giữa ba người Thành, Hân và chồng cũ của Hân khiến Hân khó xử. Liệu rằng Hân sẽ lựa chọn về phía Thành và chồng cũ có chấp nhận điều đó hay không thì mời mọi người cùng đón xem ở những video tiếp theo. Và để không bỏ lỡ video mới nhất thì mọi người nhớ like, share, bật chuông thông báo để nhận thông báo khi mình đăng video mới nhất nha. Nhớ để lại cho mình một nhận xét ở dưới phần bình luận để mình có động lực làm nhiều video và thay đổi những câu chuyện hấp dẫn đến cho mọi người cùng xem. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại mọi người ở video lần sau nhé.